Hello everybody, welcome to a windy but sunny Zandvoort. It's our third weekend of DTM 2025 and we've got a slightly different look to the format for this weekend, as we did last year in fact, and it's all to do with Le Mans testing. So we've already had free practice one, that wasn't televised, that wasn't broadcast, that was first thing this morning. We're now on free practice 2, but unusually we've got a qualifying session to come this afternoon as well, which is going to be, just to confuse you even more, the qualifying session for the second race of the weekend on Sunday. The reason is we've got, well, only 2 drivers in this year's case that are taking part in the Le Mans test on Sunday morning, so they would have no chance to qualify. And so they've switched the format around, and those 2 drivers are Jack Aitken and Jules Gounon, who are both serious players in this year's DTM Championship. We've also got Rennie Rast, who could take part in the test, but has opted not to. So those 2 drivers are going to be jet-setted off tomorrow after the race to Le Mans, and then flown back by private jet. They should get back about an hour before the race on Sunday. So it means we've got the qualifying session that we should normally have on Sunday morning here this afternoon, and that will get underway towards the end of the afternoon for 20 minutes of qualifying at 5 to 5 local time. There you get the sense of just how windy it is and can often be here at Zandvoort, because we are just a stone's throw from the North Sea coast, the beach just behind the circuit. There was really heavy rain last night. I had a walk along the beach yesterday evening and it was threatening to rain for quite a long time. And it then absolutely threw it down at about 9:30, 10 o'clock last night, and didn't really stop till the early hours of this morning. But because it's bright and breezy and quite sunny, it actually managed to dry up the track pretty quickly, so it was dry for the free practice session this morning, even though the track was a little bit green. As you can see there on the screen, notification that we've got a slight delay to the start of the session. We had a few Porsches off the road in the session that we've just had for Porsche Carrera Cup Deutschland, and so there's quite a bit of gravel to be swept up by our hard-working marshals here at the circuit. So just a slight delay till the start of the session, will be about 7.5 minutes, and we'll get underway with 45 minutes of free practice 2. My name's Chris Hartley, in the commentary box here in the paddock at Zandvoort alongside me to help talk you through all the sessions this weekend. It's good morning, good afternoon. I knew I'd do that. Good afternoon to Brian Oliver.
I can get used to these afternoon starts. Yes, good afternoon, Chris. Good afternoon, everybody. I know there are a lot of people watching us from around the world. Thank you for your patience. We are going to be thoroughly entertained this weekend. And I know we're always talking about the weather, but this really is going to be significant here. We've got a lot of rain in the forecast for tomorrow, not so much for Sunday. Who knows what it's going to actually do, but the wind is certainly a big factor here. I was on the outside of the circuit, just taking a wander around this morning. I could barely stand up at times. It's a tailwind at one point, then it's a headwind, and then it's a side wind. It keeps switching around. You can see the flags moving in the breeze. I was talking to Frank Funke, who is from Bonk Motorsport this morning, and he said, from a driver's perspective, if it's a tailwind, it's great. You've got good acceleration, but you need good brakes. If it's a headwind, you need better acceleration, not so much the brakes. He says if a crosswind, you're absolutely screwed. He didn't actually say screwed, he said something else, but we won't go there. But the wind is certainly going to affect lap times and handling of the cars around this circuit. But it's great to be back at the seaside, one of the highlights of the calendar.
Yeah, the information that we get from race control on the timing screen is that the wind speed is 11.8 metres per second. Now, I'm no meteorologist, but all I can tell you is it kept blowing my hat off this morning on the walk into the circuit. So it's windy, take my word for it. A bit about the track then. Zandvoort, it's our first overseas race of the season, having had visits so far to Oschersleben and the Lausitzring a couple of weeks ago. The track 4.3 kilometres long. It's a very undulating circuit, and the drivers say it's a very technically challenging circuit as well. There's lots of quick changes of direction, particularly in the middle of the lap. You've got the famous banking as well, the Harry Gluijendijk turn through, which they exit at 200 kilometres per hour onto a very long start-finish straight. Heavy braking into the first corner at Tarzan, where they go down from 260 kilometres an hour to just 90, down to second gear. You've got the twisty section at the end of Sector 1. You've got more inclines and drops downhill through that very quick run through the middle sector. And then you've got a chicane towards the end of the lap as well, Hans Bocht, where, again, they're slamming on the brakes, going down to just over 100 kilometres an hour through a right-left section. And there's also a bit of a banking in the hairpin in the middle of the lap as well. So it's got a bit of everything here. The circuit it had its first race back in 1939, but that was actually a street race, a permanent circuit built here for the first time in 1948. And it was designed by a gentleman called Sidney Charles Horton, or Sammy Davis as he was better known, who actually won. He won at Le Mans in 1927, that famous win for Bentley. And the design used, the original design used part of the existing roads that had been used for the street race. First held a Grand Prix here in 1955 when Manuel Fangio won for Mercedes on the way to his third Formula One World Championship title. It featured on the calendar until the mid-1980s and then dropped off the calendar for quite a long time until it was, of course, redeveloped in 2020. And they brought in the banking as well at turn 14. It's got a huge, steep 18-degree gradient. Lots of developments to the paddock as well. Even since last year, just walking into the circuit, new buildings are popping up here, there and everywhere around this circuit. So it's a fantastic facility. And, Brian, it's got that sort of mix of an old-school, proper, narrow racetrack where bravery is required, but also all the modern facilities to go with it.
Yes, certainly old school in the sense that if you get it wrong, you really are in trouble. We saw that in Porsche 6 Carrera Cup Germany free practice this morning. Those gravel traps do exactly what they say. They stop the cars. They are very, very deep. And if you go off the track, you really are going to be stranded. But it's the banked corners that make this something really unique. And the final turn, the Lion Dyke turn, turn 14, the banking of 18, 19 degrees there. What it means is the drivers can get onto the power a lot earlier. So in essence, it extends the pit straight. And it means that the drivers can get on the power early, maybe get a side draft out of turn 14, pick up a slipstream maybe along past the pits, but overtaking into turn 1 very much improved since the track changes were made. You can see that banking here. And if you think that looks steep, you want to try walking up it. Well, you have to take a run at it to get to the top.
Yeah, it's properly steep. The TV pictures still, I mean, when we get the close-up, and we've got a couple of cameras on the just over the wall as well, when the cars are coming through, some spectacular pictures we'll get through there. But it still doesn't really give that full sense of just how steep it is. I remember a couple of years ago riding a bicycle around a lap and going to the top of the banking and stopping and being absolutely terrified that if I just tipped the wrong way, it was going to be falling off a cliff, essentially. But as you say, that grip that it gives, they're already at 200 kilometres an hour as they go onto the straight. So we come into the weekend with Lucas Auer as our championship leader. 2 wins out of 4, and he's won both times on the Saturday at Oschersleben and at Lausitzring. And then he's not done quite so well in the second races both times. 10th on Sunday at Oschersleben, 9th. Although he had a great start at Lausitzring on the Sunday, picked up some damage with some contact with Marco Wittmann on lap 1, and that hampered his progress, really, so finished 9th in the end, but still enough to lead the championship with those 2 victories. He's got 69 points with his new team for the season, Team Landgraf. He's now picked up 2 of their 3 DTM championship wins. They had a year away from the DTM. Interestingly, Team Landgraf raced here 2 years ago in the DTM with Maro Engel as their driver, and Maro Engel was a race winner. That was their first win at this circuit with Maro on board. Jules Gounon is second in the championship, his first full season of DTM. He's had 2 podiums already and a pole position, second at Oschersleben and third at Lausitzring, and a dramatic third as well, just almost pipped René Rast to the line if you were watching that race. 45 thousandths of a second separated them in a photo finish, but Jules was very happy still with the results, given that he come from 13th on the grid. So he's second, 63 points, 6 points behind Lucas Auer. Then Jordan Pepper, the championship leader after the first weekend, with a second and a fourth at Oschersleben. And then he picked up points in the Saturday race at Lausitzring with an 11th, but a really good drive through from the middle of the pack to 4th and closing up to the podium finishes towards the end of the race So he's third, 55 points, 14 points behind the championship leader, Lucas Auer. Maro Engel, 52 points, is fourth in the championship. He's already picked up 2 podiums, third at Oschersleben, second at Lausitzring. Jack Aitken picked up his first win of the season with victory on Sunday at the Lausitzring. A great battle as well, particularly with the crews in the pit stops, with the 2 pit stops on the Sunday race. And Jack Aitken getting that victory, that first of the season. He won here last year at Zandvoort as well in the Emil Frey Racing Ferrari. So the British driver, 49 points, 5th in the championship. And René Rast with 2 podiums last time out at the Lausitzring, and a much improved performance for the BMW. Brian, 6th in the championship on 47 points, and their form at the second weekend of the season at the Lausitzring was day and night compared to how much they struggled really, particularly in qualifying at the opener.
Yeah, it really feels as though they've made a bit of progress at Schubert Motorsport with that BMW, doesn't it? Certainly René Rast feeling the benefit of that. Then it'll be interesting to see if that carries over for this weekend as well. Of course, Marco Wittmann had temporary ABS failure on Sunday after a collision with Jack Aitken and Lucas Auer in the race. And he said that after some major lockups that we saw, the tyres were no longer round but square. He said, I didn't know whether to laugh or cry. But he got a standing ovation from the audience after the race, so it certainly entertained them. Just to say there on that picture, you could see the tyre tracks. That's down at turn 7. I was stood there this morning. I saw Ben Green having a fairly wild moment sliding around the corner in free practice 1, but that has been a corner that's caught a few people out today. It's a downhill section with the wind. Also, we've got a lot of sand blowing onto the track because of the wind, and of course we are on the beach. Welcome to the seaside, everyone. But it does mean that it's very, very slippery. It does seem to be turn 7 in particular, which is catching people out. Yeah,
it's one of the higher parts of the circuit as well, isn't it? So it's a bit more exposed up there. One thing that drivers always say is that that sand does get blown, and you know, the grip from corner to corner changes. The grip from lap to lap at the same corner can change depending on what sand has been blown across as well. There is Ricardo Feller, who was a winner here in 2023, led from start to finish when he was an ABT driver. ABT have a great record here. He's not an ABT driver these days, of course, with the Land Motorsport team, but he won here in 2023 with ABT, and ABT come here hoping for a continued upward curve in their performance. Certainly a really good drive from Mirko Bortolotti from the middle of the pack, including a knock which dropped him 6 to 7 places down the road when he got all the way up into the top 10. He dropped out of the top 10 again, fought his way back up, and from 20th on the grid managed to finish in 6th place. But ABT know their way around this circuit. They've had 8 wins here over the years. To just go through what happened in free practice 1 then, Lucas Auer topped the times, but only right at the end of the session. Jordan Pepper had been quickest all the way through, and the gap between them was minuscule, as is ever the case in DTM, 99 thousandths of a second. So Lucas Auer in the Landgraf Mercedes, 1 minute 34.2 this morning, and 134.3 for Jordan Pepper in the TGI Team Lamborghini by GRT Huracan. And then René Rast and Marco Wittmann in the 2 Schubert BMWs were 3rd and 4th, 1 minute 34.7s for both of them, although they were around about half a second away from Lucas Auer's pace. René Rast saying after the Lausitzring that there was a lot of grip on the circuit at the Lausitzring, and lots of that is attributed to the fact that we had the trucks racing there. The European Truck Grand Prix had a race there, big fat tyres depositing lots of rubber on the circuit, and the BMW, Brian, René was saying, suits grippy conditions. It does not suit slippery conditions, so I'd say he's probably one of the drivers that will not want it to rain, because the BMW is a bit of a handful in the wet conditions, isn't it? It's quite a long wheelbase car.
René said, can we have the Truck Grand Prix at every round, please? Because that was how much grip it provided. We're seeing there, we're looking back from Mirko Bortolotti, just weaving to generate the heat into the tyres. This is a bit of a nightmare scenario this weekend, because every person I talk to has a different weather forecast. And,
engineer's nightmare, isn't it?
It is. So they don't know what they're working towards here, because, as you say, if it's wet, then Schubert Motorsport BMWs are going to struggle more with the grip. I mean, everybody struggles with grip in the wet, but it seems to be the BMW struggles more. But what are they working towards here? Because, of course, we've got a quali session for Sunday's race, confused much, today on the Friday. Then tomorrow we have quali for race 1 of the weekend and race 1. We don't know if it's going to be raining or sunny or windy or snowing or who knows what's going to happen. I mean, this is Zandvoort, isn't it?
I'm going to draw the line at snowing, Brian.
Well, I'll quote that back to you Sunday night.
Mind you, I've been to the Nürburgring where that's happened in May, so we'll see. So Mirko Bortolotti has gone into the pits, and Mirko's been saying, look, I love the team. I've fitted in straight away with the team. Everything's great. We're working together really well. But from a technical point of view, we're not quite where we want to be yet. We're a bit hit and miss, but when it's right, it's really good. And that, of course, is because Abt are learning how to use the Lamborghini Huracan after 2 decades running an Audi. They're now running a Lamborghini Huracan. As getting a bit crossed up there is Riccardo Fella as he makes his way through that tight left-hander at turn 3, which is also banked. Great onboard pictures here of the former Zandvoort race winner. But Mirko also saying, look, I've got no doubt that the team that we've got here, the ability that we've got here, we will get there. And he was sort of comparing it with his start to the season that he had with SSR Performance. They were a completely new team 3 years ago when they joined the DTM. Not a new team completely, but a fairly new team and a new one to DTM. And he said it's a bit like that first year with SSR Performance. You know, we're still learning our way and we're having to learn on the job.
And they are learning. I mean, if anybody can learn quickly, it's Abt Sportsline, 8 times winner here at Zandvoort. And as you mentioned, the most recent winner was Riccardo Fella for them at the time. But now, with Mirko Bortolotti and Nicky Team on board, then they really have 2 very rapid drivers, and they're really helping to develop that car and to learn it. But yes, as Mirko said, a very, very different animal to the Audi. So a lot of learning for the team. There's a local boy, Morris Sharing. He's been looking forward to this race all season long. Well, as far as we've got to halfway through the year. He's got a lot of fans here. There's going to be a lot of noise for him. He'll be here with his family. His brother's racing in Porsche 6 Carrera Cup Germany. So if he can pull off a good result here at Zandvoort, he only lives just up the road, about half an hour away in Amsterdam, and he would love to get somewhere near the podium here in one of the races this weekend.
Yeah, got his first points of the season, didn't he, last time out at the Lausitz-Ring with an 11th place on the Sunday. And another driver, Brian, that after the race and after penalties were applied, picked up his first championship point, was the youngest driver in the field, Tom Callender. And that was because of an additional penalty to Ben Durr, as we get Fabio Scherer's team radio.
Going to the other side in T3, I almost crashed because of that.
It's Fabio Scherer in space.
Stadium announcement, everybody.
Yeah, well, read into that what you will, if anything.
He's in a very large room.
So Fabio, that Mustang was another car that showed promise, wasn't it? At the Lausitz-Ring, and they closed the gap from being about a second off the pace at Oschersleben, which was a track that never really suited what is the longest wheelbase car in the field, to then only being about half a second off the pace at the Lausitz-Ring, and they could well have finished in the points. Certainly on Saturday, mega start, wasn't there, from Fabio Scherer? He went from the back of the field and got himself up to 9th place, but then he suffered an ABS problem, and they had a problem in the pits, didn't they, on day 2 for Fabio's car?
Yes, Ulrich Fritz from HRT was really encouraged by the progress with the Mustang. He said, we found something with the chassis. He says it's not a qualifying car. This is really unusual. Apparently it heats the tyres too quickly. So they've dispensed with the heat soak feature that a lot of drivers do in qualifying, where they come out, do a lap and sit in the pits and wait for the heat to soak through. They dispense with that at Lausitz-Ring, and the opposite of BMW, they are doing their rain dancing. They said they would prefer rain at Zandvoort, as the track is very hard wearing on the tyres, and actually keeping them cool is one of the issues. And that's quite unusual to hear.
Yeah.
Because there's always the team going, oh, I can't get the tyres in the window. Well, Ulrich is saying, well, they get into the window too quickly.
Yeah, and Ollie Fritz also saying, you know, they messed up their pit stop on the Sunday for Fabio Scherer, and he basically, they had a slow pit stop, and there's a clutch on the steering wheel of the Mustang, and there's also an auto shutdown system, which means that if you don't drive off within 10 seconds, that the car basically prevents you from getting into gear, engaging gear. That's what happened. So they had a slow pit stop, and then they dropped it off the jacks, and Fabio couldn't find a gear because it had gone into sort of shutdown mode. So that was all a learning curve of the new car, but certainly making some progress. And Arjun already had 2-point scoring finishes with the race. The Mercedes is a car which has at times struggled to get the heat into the tyres in qualifying, but looks after its tyres pretty well in races. It certainly hasn't been much of an issue qualifying this year for the front-running Mercedes drivers like Lucas Auer and Maro Engel, and also for Jules Gounon. But you have got to be a bit careful of the tyres going off, haven't you? That's certainly what happened with the BMW of René Rast. Like, he got the tyre switched on for qualifying, got himself up the grid for once, but then the tyres had just died, haven't they, in the second phase of the second race on the Sunday, and that was why he eventually succumbed to Jack Aitken.
And I would say that a circuit like this weekend is going to be even more of a challenge because it is such a hard-wearing circuit. And of course, they're putting so much pressure on those tyres, particularly around turn 3, around the Lyondike turn as well. Just an aside to that, you're talking about Jules Gounon. I did not realise until after the event that coming to the grid for the second race, that epic race we had at the Lausitz-Ring on the Sunday, that his right front brake disc exploded on the way to the grid, and we were oblivious to this. The team did an incredible job changing that. It was an astonishing race. That three-way battle eventually went the way of Jack Aitken, and can I just say, if you get an opportunity, go on to the DTM YouTube page and check out the drone footage, because the last 5 or 6 minutes of the race is on the YouTube page from the drone, and it is spectacular. Really worth a watch.
It was a mega race, one of my favourite DTM races, race 2 at the Lausitz-Ring. Had pretty much everything, and they were wild from the start, wild from the first corner, weren't they? Thierry Vermeulen, as we call him, we've now been told Vermeulen is the correct way to pronounce it, or similar, as close as I'm going to get, probably. And he would love to get his second DTM podium at this circuit, wouldn't he, Brian? He got a good 4th place finish here last year. He's been certainly knocking on the door of a race win. He was terribly unlucky not to get a race win last year at the Sachsenring, and a penalty from a pit stop prevented him doing that, but he did get his first podium. There is Marco Wittmann, whose car was hanging at the end of the race last year.
What was left of it?
Hardly anything left of it. Bits disintegrating all around him, but Marco being Marco, of the bravest drivers you'll ever come across, just kept his foot in. There was smoke pouring from the car, bodywork rubbing on the tyre, it was falling apart, and he still won the race. Bit reminiscent, really, of, you said, that ABS failure he had at the Lausitz-Ring. First lockup, he went on the grass, and he kept his foot flat to the floor, as far as I could tell. Just bravely just went, OK, I'm on the grass, I'm going to stay flat out and rejoin as quickly as possible. And that's Marco Wittmann in a nutshell, isn't it?
Well, that's another one to check out on YouTube. It was what was left of the car to bring it home for a win as well. Very, very popular. And that's Pepper, who was quickest in FP1 this morning. He's got flat, hasn't he?
Left rear puncture,
he was quickest in FP1 this morning until the absolute closing stages. Now, this is going to slow everything down a bit.
Turn 7,
Turn 7, what did we say about turn 7? But he was only in the absolute closing stages of FP1 this morning that Lucas Auer jumped to the top, which is exactly where he is now, by the way, 134.448. I just mentioned that in passing. But Jordan Pepper looked like he was going to be the quickest in FP1. Well, he was second there. This is not how he planned things to go. He was in 3rd place before this excursion into the gravel, 134.639. So a little under 0.2 off the time of Lucas Auer. Of course, as is always the case with FP2, times aren't necessarily representative, but he's on the team radio now.
in code, because we can't hear it, unfortunately. But I suspect that puncture is what sent him off the road, isn't it? Rather than he's picked up a puncture in the gravel. Yeah, I mean, it could be either, couldn't it? Did he get a puncture and go off, or did he go off and get a puncture? Well, maybe we'll get a replay and find out. Hopefully, we might get... No, we're not going to get any team radio, but that is going to take a bit of rescuing. So, yes, I mean, that's inevitable. And particularly there, that's quite a steep downhill section towards turn 7. I ran the track last night. Oh, here we go. Let's have another go, shall we? Team radio, Jordan Pepper. Nope, he's maybe doing it with flags. I don't know. Maybe there's so much swearing in there, they just can't play it. Out. Jordan, no, silenced. Surely not. Yeah, I ran the circuit last night, and yeah, that's quite a steep downhill. The bit that surprises me, actually, when I was running the circuit is just how much gradient change there is, how much camber. I mean, there's a bit of opposite camber as well on turn 2 before you get to that big bank bit. Right, here we go, and yeah, you're right. It let go in advance, doesn't it? So yeah, that's high speed into that corner as well. So you are 235 kilometres an hour on the approach to that corner. Yeah, you don't really want to puncture at that point, do you? Yes. It is a massive gravel track though, and did its job perfectly well, didn't it?
I mean,
yeah, it's gone there, hasn't it?
Yeah, that's a... Gosh, I should think that would get the heart racing a bit. We saw in Porsche 6 Carrera Cup Germany free practice this morning, Matheus Ferreira, he actually went off there and actually made it all the way to the fence, which is quite impressive through that gravel track. So Jordan did a good job there, keeping it out the barrier, and you'd like to think there's not too much damage there, but clearly this is not the FP2 that he wanted. So I doubt that he is going to be back out again in the next half an hour, because I don't think they're going to get the car back to the garage in time. So yeah, that's a real shame for him.
Suboptimal, isn't it? I'm just looking at the time. So 1:34.2 for Lucas Auer in free practice 1. A bit slower at the moment with a 1:34.4. And in both cases, we're quite a bit slower than this time last year. Free practice 1, Nicky Tim in 2024 topped the times with a 1:33.7. So half a second quicker than what we had this morning. And a 1:33.0 for Lucas Auer, who topped free practice 2 in 2024. So I mean, that's 1.4 seconds quicker than Lucas has managed in this session so far, as we see Jordan Pepper walking away from the car, which is that left rear puncture. The temperature is 17 degrees, which is pretty similar to what we had last year. We had 16 degrees for one session, 18 degrees for the other. The track temperature at the moment, though, is high, 31.5. That wind is sort of masking how warm it actually is with the sun beating on the track. And that might be the reason why, although that said, it was 35 degrees track temperature when we had the fastest time in free practice in the afternoon last year, set by Lucas Auer. It was only 20 when we had free practice 1. So I think that wind is probably the thing that's been playing havoc with the lap times so far. 1:34.4 for Lucas Auer. Marco Wittmann is second with a 1:34.527. Jordan Pepper, who you see there walking away from his punctured Lamborghini, third quickest with a 1:34.6. Ben Durr impressing once again in the McLaren, 1:34.7. He was the driver that picked up several penalties, including for not serving his penalties correctly, which was why he then got dumped down the order after the results came out, after the race had finished on Sunday at the Lausitz Ring. And that was what promoted drivers, including Tom Callender, up the order, and Tom then picking up his first championship point with a 15th place finish. But Ben going well again. The McLarens were quick here last year in their first season as well, if I remember rightly. We had one of them on the second row of the grid, Clement Schmidt. Ben Durr, fourth quickest at the moment. Thomas Preining, fifth quickest. And the other McLaren, Timo Glock, sixth quickest, driving Ben Durr's old car from last year now, rather than the car he started the season with, which was the ex-Clement Schmidt car. So there's Marco Wittmann. Now he's on for a landmark this year, because on Sunday he will have his 200th DTM race start, the two-time champion. He's got a good record around here, as I say, a winner here last year. He'd love to get on the front row of the grid again here, because it is possible to overtake at Zandvoort, but it's not the easiest place in the world to overtake. He got on the front row of the grid at the Lausitz Ring, Brian, for the first time in 4 years, but the start didn't go according to plan, did it, with that ABS failure. But the performance is there. It's looking like a strong start to the season for Marco.
Both BMWs looking really strong, and it's interesting actually, because Schubert Motorsport fielding one less car. Of course, it was a 3-car team last year, and there was always the debate: was it an advantage in terms of data feedback, or was it a disadvantage in terms of stretching themselves over 3 cars? But it feels as though Schubert Motorsport have got a better grip on things this year with those just 2 BMWs, and it certainly feels that Marco Wittmann and René Rast are out of the blocks a lot quicker this year than they were last.
Yeah, that's definitely right. Second half of the year, René Rast was one of the form drivers, wasn't he? He was one of the drivers that picked up the most points in the second half of the season. I think it's quite interesting as well, Brian, that René has opted not to go and do the Le Mans test in the BMW hypercar. He's leaving that to his teammates, one of which is a former DTM champion, both of which are former DTM drivers, Robin Freins and Sheldon van der Linde, 2022 DTM champion, who drives with at Le Mans in the World Endurance Championship in the BMW hypercar. He's leaving them to do the test today, but he's opted to fully concentrate on DTM this year. And he's got a sticker on his car which says Mission 4, and that's to signify the fact that he wants a 4th DTM title. He's serious about it, isn't he, as well?
Yes, and I think there'll be an awful lot of fans who would love to see that. So the Le Mans test that takes place, it means that those drivers, the 3 of them, are going to be... We look again at this. Gosh, that was a definite scary moment. The 3 drivers are going to be... well, no, 2 of the drivers, in fact, are going to be out of here on Saturday straight after the race, and then they will then test at Le Mans and they will be back after the test finishes at 1 p.m. on Sunday, and that is Jules Gounon, who's racing the Alpine, and Jack Aitken in the Cadillac. And as you say, René Rast choosing not to go, but a lot of pressure on both Jules Gounon and Jack Aitken, because they're completely different disciplines of cars. They're driving prototypes, which have, or hypercars, which depend very much on downforce, and then switching back into a GT3 car. I'm told that it feels like everything's happening in slow motion when you get back in a GT3 car.
Yeah, the downforce is completely different, isn't it? But although Jules Gounon saying, look, I was competing at Monza, or driving at Monza not long before I went to Wassersleben, then went from a hypercar to a DTM car. Did okay there, so, but it wasn't the same day, was it? So it is certainly going to take some adapting. Also, it's not the ideal prep, is it? Like being on a plane and landing at a track an hour before and having a bit of stress trying to settle yourself in, and you know, an hour before means that means only about half an hour before they get in the car and get the cars onto the grid as well. So it's all pretty tight. Practicing his overtaking is the three-time champion René Rast.
Give it a little nudge on the way past as well. Frustrated.
So yeah, a little reminder of you know, who's the three-time champion here. Timo Glock is a former race winner here at Zandvoort as well in the Class 1 era. So René in the blue BMW coming through. Interestingly, none of the drivers have to go and do that test. They've changed the rules. So if you've raced at Le Mans since 2020, you don't have to go and do that first test. But Jack Aitken and Jules Gounon have elected to do it, and I'm very grateful to the ADAC to changing the timetable to allow them that privilege, really.
Yes, and it's quite a big change around of the programme, and it means that race 2 of the weekend will be last thing on Sunday. So it's certainly great that the ADAC is thinking of the bigger picture here, and very much been very accommodating. You saw René Rast just wobbling a bit under braking. I've been looking at the flags, and it looks to me like it is a tailwind along the pit straight in towards turn 1. A little bit of a boost there. But it does look like every time I look out the window, the flags are pointing in a different direction. So I think it's changing a lot as well, as the other of the local pilots, Thierry Vermeulen. And we're actually joined in the commentary box at the moment by Schut, who's one of the Orange Army from around the circuit here at Zandvoort. He does a phenomenal job sweeping up a lot of the time when the drivers bury it in the barrier. He's been giving us pronunciation lessons today, and I've decided that I'm not even going to try to get actual correct Dutch pronunciations for either Maurice Schuring or Thierry Vermeulen. That's how it's staying, okay?
We can do Vermeulen, that's easy.
Vermeulen, is that? That's it. We're saying Vermeulen. Vermeulen.
Vermeulen.
He's here prompting us, and I still can't get it. I'm just copying him.
Thierry.
Thierry, yes. TV, we will call him. TV, there we go.
Terry Vermeulen, as we call him in England. Right, there he goes, on the way through Tarzan, swinging his way through there. Let's see if this is going to be a good lap time. Where is he in the order at the moment? Low down, actually. He's only 21st. We haven't had the time from Mirko Bortolotti. We saw him doing a recce lap coming back in. We also haven't had a proper lap time from Jules Gounon yet. And although Fabio Scherer has crossed the line, he also, and Thierry, have not had proper lap time, 6 and 10 seconds off the pace respectively. So this, with 23 minutes to go, less than 23 minutes to go, will be the first proper lap for the Dutch driver. Great camera on board the Ferrari 296's nose there. And this is a slow Mirko Bortolotti. What's happened to the champion?
Something happened on the right rear.
Just check if you can continue or not. You have to stop. We don't have to fuck the gearbox, so you have to decide if there's puncture or not.
He's got it. Well, it sounds like he's got a puncture. It's hobbling along like it's not got 4 round wheels. Yeah, it's got proper. You can see that underneath the car. Look.
Is it puncture or is it breakage or something? It looks like a proper wobble going on there.
The tyre's almost devoid of the wheel, isn't it, at the moment? So the reason why the champion, who's only just gone back out, that's a bit of a worry, isn't it? 2 punctures we've had now, one for Jordan Pepper and one now for Mirko Bortolotti.
Just as René Rast has set a purple in Sector 1 as well. I mean, we were heading for something special here. I noticed on the timing screen, actually, that Timo Glock is requested, his manager's requested to race control straight after the session. That's anything to do with him and René just now.
I think it might be.
It might just be. So there is Timo Glock just coming through. But Mirko, that is more than just a puncture, I think, because he is crawling around. Or maybe he's just protecting the bodywork, I don't know, but
try not to damage the gearbox, as he was told by his engineer.
Yeah, well, he's around a turn 12 at the moment. I suggest he probably won't go high on the banking.
We'll get a look at it here. It's punctures.
It's puncture?
I think so.
He's putting a lot of smoke out for a puncture. Well, he's through the penalty box. There's a good bit of practice there. Probably slower than he would need to, actually, but we will find out after the session what has occurred. It's certainly down at the back, but yeah, well, they'll get that back to the pits, nice and low on the banking, I expect, and the team will get to work on that.
He had a slow puncture last year, didn't he, at the end of the race? He still finished second, but he had a slow puncture for the last few laps and was under all sorts of pressure and just about held on and finished in second place, which proved to be handy points, given they only just won the championship from Kelvin van der Linde.
If it is a puncture, that's the second Lamborghini with a puncture we've seen in this session. I don't know if there's that much debris around on the track. Well, we should get a good angle on it now, hopefully. He's keeping out of the way.
I think the smoke is because there's no rubber left at all, is there?
Yeah.
It's like completely gone.
See, I don't know. I think that might be some kind of failure at the back, you know, that's not rubber related, but it just looks to me like it's crabbing slightly to me. But what do I know? Not much.
It's not working.
Oh, here we go.
Much.
On board. Was this
turn 3? On the curb, it's going there. Bits of rubber you can see coming off.
No. Okay, and it's so is it?
He literally just gone out, hadn't he? I think.
Which tyre was it that had gone down on Jordan Pepper's?
Left rear, and that's the right rear.
See, I'm always looking under stones for things that aren't there. You notice that? And yeah, because he was up on the rumble strip on turn 3, and maybe those are kind of, you know, damaging to the tyres.
So essentially, had zero practice in this session because he went out, did a recce lap, came in. He's only just gone back out again, and he hasn't done a lap. So I don't think he's going to do a lap, is he? With that car, he's not going to be back out in the session. So forget free practice 2, which is exactly what the team that's trying to, you know, develop and learn the car don't need. They need all the time in the car they can get. So that's a real headache for Abd. And of course, they've got to get it fixed for qualifying this afternoon. Normally, free practice 2, you've got all night to get the car fixed, ready for qualifying. They've got to get it sorted now. He's going to be straight into it for Q1 this afternoon. Well, Q2 as it is, for Sunday's session, which takes place in a few hours' time.
Wow, pressure on the team all of a sudden, and we all thought Friday was the chilled one. Maybe not. There's Thierry Vermeulen once again up onto the banking. Rene Rast right here, done a purple before the yellow flags came out around the circuit. So he is now the quickest at 134.257. Rene Rast, no, change that. Thierry Vermeulen, local boy, done good. 2 tenths on Rene Rast, just like that. 134.059. So may well be the first into the 133s. We've got 18 minutes of this session remaining. Of course, it's not about times, but it is about trying to get a setup for every possible situation that might occur over the weekend. And weather-wise, it could be anything. Of course, it's a really unique circuit. It's not like anything else that we visit. I mean, maybe in terms of undulation, it's got some resemblances to the Saxon Ring, but certainly there's nothing with the 19 degrees of banking on the corner anywhere else on the DTM calendar. So a lot of learning to do here, but Thierry Vermeulen, he's done a fair few laps here over the years, and he continues on his way.
They'll probably be pleased to learn that, well, they already know this, of course, but at some circuits in the DTM, you get 3 sets of new slicks to last for 2 qualifying sessions and 2 races. At others, you get 4. So last time out at the Lausitz Ring, there were only 3 sets, which meant you get to Sunday, you can't just put new tyres on the car. You've got to use tyres that you've already used at some point during the weekend. But here, you do get 4 sets to last the 2 qualifying sessions and 2 races. In terms of free practice, you get to use 2 sets of nominated tyres, which are allocated at a previous event, used tyres effectively, plus 1 set of new tyres. You can use the 1 set at some point over the 2 free practice sessions, but they'll be able to bolt new ones on for qualifying. But then if you qualify in the top 10, Brian, you've got to start the race with the tyres you qualified best on. So, i.e., you've got to use your new tyres for the start of the race if you qualify in the top 10.
So it's thinking about the long game. And just to add to the complications, to add Sportsline, they had a tyre that went missing. I think somebody, maybe an enthusiastic souvenir gatherer, nicked one of Nicky Tim's tyres. And it went missing, and they've had to get special dispensation. I don't know what the outcome was of it. Certainly there was a request made because Nicky Tim was short of a tyre that they were planning to use again during the season, during a free practice session, because a souvenir hunter had stolen it from Abt Sportsline. Also, HRT, out of their GT Masters team, had a similar problem. So tyres going walking, that's not what a team needs when you're trying to get your act together for a season.
No. I'll tell you what, I wouldn't want to be on the wrong side of Nicky Tim either. That's a brave person.
No.
He comes knocking on your door. Have my tyre back, please.
Yeah.
Yes, Mr. Tim,
Yes.
here straight away. Anything you like. Right, here's Tom Callender then, 17 years young. Can't even, well, barely legal to drive on the roads. Here he is racing a GT3 car. Youngest ever ADAC GT Masters champion now. Youngest ever DTM driver. And a points finisher at the Lausitz ring. Teammate to Lucas Sauer at Landgraf. And yeah, fastest time, 1:34.030. So by 29 thousandths of a second, he goes ahead of Vermeulen. That's the fastest. That's 3 Mercedes in the top 6. So Lucas Sauer's down to... so Jules Guénon's 4th, and Lucas Sauer, who was topping the times a while ago, he's down to 5th place now, behind Callender, Vermeulen, Rast and Guénon. Our 5th. Ricardo Feller just popped himself up to 6. You're on board with him now. His best lap times are 1:34.4. Marco Wittmann's in the pits. He's 7th. Jordan Pepper is 8th. Back out on the track, is that right? According to the time score, is that? No, that's just frozen from when he... Yes, that's just frozen from when he was around his lap, which he aborted due to the puncture. Ben Durr is in the pits 9th. Thomas Preining is in the pits and in 10th place. Timo Glock is 11th. Jack Aitken is 12th. And then Maurice Skering is 13th, 14th for Engsler, 15th for Guen, 16th for Tim. They're all in the pits. Ben Green is 17th. His best results so far in the DTM coming at on the Sunday at the Lausitz ring. And then Magnus in 18th in the improving Aston Martin. Max Powell 19th. Maro Engel only 20th at the moment. Arjun Miney in the Ford 21st. Nicola Bart 22nd in the Aston. Fabio Scherer in the Ford 23rd. Mirko Bortolotti will end this session without a single lap and will be classified 24th.
On board with Ricardo Feller, look at this as he's heading up towards turn 6 now and up over the blind crest. I was stood there this morning watching them come over there. It was terrifying, and then they touched the brakes at the last minute into turn 7. You can hear, when you're stood at the side of the track, you can hear the cars bottoming out on the track here, the noise as they go over it, and the cars getting just very slightly up in the air as they go over the top of that crest. Really, really exciting, and if you are at the circuit, I would highly recommend you go and have a look at turn 6 because it is spectacular. You've got to have some pretty large whatnots to keep your foot flat on it when you're going up over there. And all you can see is blue sky. Wow, a rare breed are these racing drivers.
This is one of the heaviest braking zones into the Hans Ernst block. It's a chicane, basically. Go right, go left, down to 100, 105 kilometres an hour on the gas, already up to 180. 3rd gear, go then right, and then up towards the banking of turn 14, Harry Lyndike turn. Coming out through 4th gear, over 200 kilometres an hour as you go onto the start-finish straight. But Ricardo is headed for the pits very rapidly. In on the brakes, make sure you get the pit lane speed limiter before you get to the line. Otherwise, for every kilometre over the maximum speed limit you get a rather large fine.
I'm just knackered watching it. That was impressive. And the bit that I noticed there is how quickly he was flat on the accelerator into turns 13 and 14. That really does, that banking does really extend the pit straight. And he was on the accelerator very quickly. Right, there is Ben Durr cruising fairly slowly at the moment. Don't think there's an issue. So maybe just finding a bit of space. Past the penalty box he comes.
Saw quite a bit of that, didn't he, at the Lausitz ring?
Just capped up there.
3 runs through the penalty box and for contact, and then also didn't serve the penalties correctly, and then got another 30 seconds slapped onto his time at the end of the race. But the upward curve for Ben Durr has been extraordinary this year. 5th in qualifying on Sunday at the Lausitz ring. His best so far. He's already had 2 top 10 finishes as well, and continues to really improve, having, as he said to me at the Lausitz ring, had a proper build-up to this season rather than the team being put together and having no real pre-season testing going into his first year last year, his first year and the team's first year. His dad, Rainer Durr, runs the team. That was their first season last year in the DTM, so it was all new to them, but the upward curve started to make progress last year. The pit stops were getting quicker, the results were getting a bit more consistent, point scores were getting a bit more consistent, but it's like another level this year, another 3 levels, I would say. And as Ben said, you know, really, other than driving a GT3 car around the Nordschleife, which is a very different thing, I hadn't really done any GT3 racing until I came into this championship last year for the GT Masters, but he hadn't, you know, had years and years of, like most of these drivers have done years and years racing these cars in different series, haven't they, before they come into DTM, and then spent years in this championship. He's really fresh in that respect and has done an excellent job so far this year in really matching some of the best drivers out there.
Yeah, I mean, I saw him, I spoke about him for a couple of years. He was driving an Aston Martin GT4, which is an altogether different beast to one of those, a GT3. This is Ben Durr I'm talking about. And he wasn't really troubling the front runners there, so his rate of improvement is dramatic, certainly. A contender for driver of the weekend at Lausitzring, and certainly the most improved driver we have seen this year. And the team just gelling, and I think the influence of Timo Glock as well, bringing a lot of data and a lot of influence as well. And Timo Glock also saying that the car is an improvement. He's using the older car from last year. He had a problem with a diff issue at the Lausitzring where he was suffering from single wheel spin. But they are confident of having had that sorted for this weekend as well. So hopefully Timo Glock will also be showing an improvement. Well, he's 13th in this session and Ben Durr 11th, so pretty close to each other in terms of lap times.
It's looking okay for Gilles Magnus as well, qualified 14th, despite a scrape with the wall and a bit of damage to the car at the Lausitzring. And he goes 4th quickest here, the Belgian driver, Gold Cup class champion last year in the GT World Challenge. We've got a hat-trick of 24-hour races coming up, such as the way the calendar has fallen this year. Le Mans, Nürburgring and the Spa 24-hour races, all back-to-back weekends. And a lot of the drivers in the field are doing all 3. They're going to need about 5 days to recover after all that, I would have thought. But one team that will be looking forward to the Spa 24-hour race is Come To You Racing, who run those Aston Martins, because they, with one of the drivers being Nicky Tim last year, won in only their 2nd season of GT3 racing the Spa 24 hours with an Aston Martin, which was an incredible achievement. So good to see them improving all the time in the DTM as well.
Yeah, and I would also say Gilles Magnus in that car was the quickest in a test here, quicker than René Rast a few weeks. I don't think every team was here, but still, they showed a little bit of their true colours at the test. I don't know how long ago that was. It was a few weeks ago here. But Come To You, beginning of May. So Come To You Racing at Aston Martin, they've clearly got a setup round here. And when we spoke to their team principal at the beginning of the season, he said, well, let's get Oschersleben out of the way, because that is a real humdinger for us. And I don't think they were that keen about Lausitzring. And they were very confident that as the season progressed, that it was going to suit their car more and more. And that's maybe borne out by the fact that we're seeing some good times.
Yeah, well, Magnus in that test did a 1:33.7. But enough of Aston Martins. What about the other long wheelbase car? The Ford of Arjun Maini has gone quickest with a 1:33.947, 83 thousandths quicker than Tom Callender. That's an unusual looking leaderboard in free practice too, isn't it? Arjun Maini quickest, Tom Callender 2nd. Vermeulen is 3rd. Powell, who's just got into the pits, is 4th. Magnus is 5th. And Feller is 6th. If you got down the bookies and put a few quid on that being the top 6 order at the start of the session, I think you would have won quite a bit of money.
Great to see Max Powell up there, actually. He had a troubled home race, I think, the Lausitzring, so up in 4th place. He was another one who was properly hustling it into turn 6 and 7 this morning. Sparks flying up into the air as the car bottomed out. But, of course, a family-run team. But Luca Engsler now pops up into P4, so he's just unseated Max Powell from that 4th place. So Luca Engsler, 1:34.102. So he's another one who tends to fly under the radar for much of the time, and then suddenly you'll get a race and he's like, hang on a second, Luca Engsler's leading, he's going to win this. He just doesn't make a lot of fuss, just gets on with the job and is often there at the end.
2-time winner last year in the DTM, including the last race of the season. You kind of go under the radar if you win the last race of the season, because all eyes are on the championship battle, aren't they? But he did a mega job, didn't he, on the Sunday at Hockenheim to win. He won in this first weekend of the season at Oschersleben last year as well, and the former multiple TCR touring car champion is a very talented driver indeed, so he's up there. fourth quickest now, best of the Lamborghinis. He's got a Ford fastest, a Mercedes second, a Ferrari third, and then two Lamborghinis. Scratch that, because the Aston Martin of Gilles Magnus has just crossed the line, and he's gone fourth quickest, then the Lamborghinis. The top five, all from 5 different brands. Now all eyes on this man, Marco Wittmann, 2014-2016 champion, fastest of all in the first sector around the lap, and he's done a personal best through sector 2 as well. So big Marco in the big BMW makes his way now past the penalty box coming out of turn 12 up towards the last 2 turns. He's trying to target a high 1:33, 1:33.9 by Arjun Maini is the best time so far. Here he comes, staying low through the banking, over 200 kilometres an hour. Nothing in front of him between him and the line. Is this going to be the fastest time of the session of the day? 1:33.454. Is it ever?
Blimey.
He's half a second quicker. Mega. So 1:33.454, absolute best in sector 1, absolute best in sector 2. I think Marco likes it around this circuit, doesn't he?
I was about to say, you think he likes it here by any chance? He and Jack Aitken, of course, the 2 winners from last year, but certainly absolutely dialed in. I mean, to be almost half a second quicker than Arjun Maini, that is very, very good. And certainly this circuit favouring those longer wheelbase cars. Right, on board with Maurice Schuring in the Manthey Junior team. You're right, I noticed you changed your pronunciation. This is a good view of Maurice. He looks like he's quite chilled there, doesn't he? Picking up a bit of curb. He comes through to turn 12 now, and then past the penalty box into turn 13. And now we see him getting onto the power in 13. And as long as he doesn't peel off into the pits, it'll be flat now all the way in towards turn 1. You can hear him onto the power, going down low, then riding up high on the banks, and then up towards turn 1 we come. Absolute full beans. He's got a tailwind as well, so he's going to pick up a lot of speed here. Then the heavy braking into Tarzan at turn 1.
Yeah, and anyway else on a flyer, Maro Engels started to creep up the order and has done the absolute best middle sector on this lap, so he's up to 11th, but he's going to go higher. Marco's on another quick lap, absolute best first sector. Luca Engstler's come through 5th quickest with his best lap of the session so far. Wittmann with a 1:33.5, so he's now got the fastest 2 laps of the session. That's Maro Engel coming through, and did he improve overall? Yes, he did, up to 7th place, 1:34.096, which is exactly the same time as Gilles Magnus, but Gilles did it earlier, so he's classified above. They are currently 6th and 7th, and maybe to break into that gap is this man, Jack Aitken, race winner at the Lausitzring, race winner here last year, because he's certainly on for a top 6 here, maybe better. 2nd place, 1:33.805.
Look at that, both winners from last year, 1 and 2.
Yeah.
What does that say to us? There are 2 drivers who love this place, so both the winners from last weekend. 1st and 2nd, separated though by 3.5 tenths, Wittmann to Aitken. So that's quite a big gap to close up. I say we're not necessarily chasing times here, but Thomas Priding might be. Absolute best in sector 2. He's like, okay, hold my drink, everybody. Here I come, out of Lyondike. Full beans across the line. So what's this going to be? Personal best sector 1. Best of anybody, sector 2, personal best in sector 3, takes him up to P2, bumping Jack Aitken down to P3. It was poetic for about half a lap.
He had a 2nd place finish here 2 years ago, Thomas Priding. That's his only visit to the podium around this circuit, although we've only had 2 weekends here in the DTM, of course, in this GT3 era, the last 2 seasons. So Priding, who finally lost that record of unbeaten consecutive point-scoring finishes with a retirement from damage in race 2 at the Lausitzring. That was the first time since the last weekend of the 2022 season that he hadn't finished a race in the points. Incredible run of 35 point-scoring finishes. He's got to start from scratch again now, though, but he'll be looking to try and get his first win of the season here this weekend, Priding, to get his championship campaign up and running, the 2023 champion. Jack Aitken, personal best through the first set to the second set. He's about 2 tenths down on the best second sector time, so this might not be quite as good as his last lap. No, it won't be, as he comes through. He's backed off at the end as well, 1:35, but he still looks like he's going to end the session in a good place. 4th quickest behind Wittmann, Priding and Rast. Maini who was topping the times. He's in the pits, so that's the end of his session in terms of times. He's 5th, but he'll be pleased with that for sure, with Calendar, Guen, Vermeulen, and then Engsler and Durr rounding out the top 10. Preining's on another good charge here, though, as the Austrian, former Porsche Carrera Cup champion, charges through in his Manthey Porsche, coming over the line. What's the time going to be? Quickest of all, 1:33.345 for the 2023 champion.
Oh, really good
24
stuff.
champions. No, 23.
I
get my years mixed up.
Don't we all? Yeah, great stuff from Thomas Preining there. I was wondering whether Schubert Motorsport might be watching the BOP from behind a cushion overnight tonight, because they are currently 2 and 3. But Thomas Preining has probably helped him a bit there. So if I go quickest, that is very good. A 10th up on Marco Wittmann's epic time. Now Anh Chen Nguyen, the next with a personal best, but time is starting to run out. 50 seconds of this session remaining. So the winner from the opening weekend of the season, the driver who finally broke the duck. He's in 7th at the moment, so he'll be looking to improve on that. Personal best in Sector 1 and Sector 2 into the last couple of corners up in towards 14. He'll come now up high onto the bankings and then out onto the pit straight. Is he going to cross the line to record a time? Is he going to peel off into the pits? Here he comes, Anh Chen Nguyen, and he stops the clock. Is it going to improve on 7th? Yes, it is, up to P4. So 2 of the Manthey cars looking very quick.
Yeah, I think the times are more significant in free practice 2 than normally, because we've got qualifying to come in a few hours' time. So you say, well, it's perhaps about setting the cars up for race distance, but it's definitely about setting the cars up for qualifying today, because it's their only chance to do so. Bortolotti, incredibly, the AB team have got him back out for at least a bit of running. Now, he's not really going to set any mega lap times, but at least they can check that the car is okay before they hit the road in qualifying, given that qualifying is only 20 minutes long, and that really you only get normally about 7 or 8 minutes of proper running by the time they've done a recce lap or 2 or 3 in some cases, come into the pits, let the heat soak through to the tyres. So you wouldn't really want to go into that session not quite sure if it's all going to work or not. At least they've got him back out, and that's a pretty mega turnaround from the ABT team, as we see. Great start here too. Aston Martins running together. Magnus followed by Bart here, still looking for his first point. He's on his best lap of the session so far. Guen is still out there. He crossed the line before the flag came out. He's only had a 7th place finish here as his best result in the DTM. So Arjen, the race winner at Oschersleben on the Sunday, first ever Turkish driver to win in the DTM, will be looking to perhaps get his first podium here this weekend at this circuit. Bart comes through, does improve, 21st place in the Aston Martin. We've got, again, another very tight looking leaderboard, because there's only 0.8 of a second covering the top 17. Bortolotti actually did pop in a 1:34.2, which, given the car only just been put back together, wasn't bad. 17th place in the Lamborghini, and within 0.8. You don't want to be going through there, but I suppose you better practice it, as Thomas Preining going through the penalty box.
Yes, well, you've got to get that right, because if you don't do it correctly, we've seen it in the past, if you don't pass through the penalty box correctly, you get it wrong. You just have to do it again, so you even have to rehearse the bad bits.
Well, that's a lovely shot from the drone overlooking the beach.
Glorious.
Loads of surfers in there last night when it was going dark. It's a fantastic place for surfing. Thomas Preining then fastest, almost right at the end of the session, taking top spot in the Manthey Porsche from Marco Wittmann's Schubert BMW. Anh Chen Nguyen going 3rd quickest on his last lap of the session, right at the end. Last one to cross the line pretty much with the 1:33.6. And then René Rast in the Schubert BMW. So it's Porsche, BMW, Porsche, BMW, then Ferrari with Jack Aitken running 5th. Arjen Meiney, a great result in 6th. Ben Durr 7th. Tom Calendar 8th, impressing as well. Then Vermeulen and Engsler in the top 10. Gilles Magnus continues the upward trajectory for the Aston Martin as well, just outside the top 10 in 11th place. And Maro Engel rounded up in 12th ahead of Powell, Feller and Schuring, who were also in the top 15. So that is free practice done for the day. Anh Chen Nguyen, right at the very end of the session, set his best 2 laps, and the last one was the quickest one, a 1:33.655, but it's still 0.3 of a second away from the fastest time of the session. Second quickest, Marco Wittmann, race winner here twice, once in 2015 and once last year, at 1:33.454, just over 0.1 of a second away from this man, the 2023 DTM champion. Thomas Preining, the Austrian for the Manthey EMA Porsche team, quickest at the end of free practice 2 with the best lap of the weekend so far, a 1:33.345. But no doubt they will be getting quicker when we get to qualifying, which is going to be getting underway at 5 to 5 this afternoon. That'll be the qualifying session for the Sunday race for reasons we've already explained. Then a reminder of the championship table and a reminder that there are 3 points up for grabs for getting pole position in qualifying this afternoon, 2 for qualifying second and a point for qualifying third. Lucas Auer ahead of Jules Gounon by a big enough margin, though, that he will, whatever happens in qualifying, retain the championship lead until at least tomorrow. Auer has been a championship leader before at the start of the season, but after 2 rounds, this is definitely his best start to a season so far. The Austrian looking good here in certainly the first free practice session this morning as well. Just 3 drivers yet to get off the mark in terms of points, 2 Aston Martin drivers and Fabio Scherer. So let's see if we can get them into the top 15 and into the points in one of our 2 races this weekend. So they can see still blustery here at Zandvoort. That might be a factor when we get to qualifying this afternoon for the first 20-minute qualifying session of the weekend. But it should be a dry track. Thanks for watching. Bye for now.